Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of Council for Tuesday, March 5th, 2019, beginning at 9 a.m. My name is Vi Sanford, and I am Deputy Mayor currently, and I will be chairing the meeting in the absence of Mayor Borrowing, who will return around the middle of March. So, before I call the meeting to order, I would like to ask if there are any questions that we received from the public for a public question period. Okay. So with that, I will call the meeting to order and ask for the approval of the agenda. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. We have no delegations this morning. I would like to ask for the approval of the minutes of February 5th, 2019 regular council meeting. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. And then we'd like to look at the minutes of February 5th, 2019 special meeting of council, public hearing for Bylaw 2018-22 and Bylaw 2018-27. Any errors or omissions or corrections? Seeing none, those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. The next item on the agenda is business arising. We have none. Unfinished business, we have none. And I will go to bylaw approvals, F1, borrowing bylaw. We have a number of them. Bylaws 2019-01, 02, 03, 04, and 05. And I'd like to call up Carla Reinhardis, Acting Manager of Financial Services. Welcome to the microphone. Sorry.
Good morning, Your Worship and members of Council. I'm here to request second and third reading to 5 borrowing bylaws. During the 2019-2020 budget process, Council approved a number of capital projects, 5 of which had debentures as a funding source. In order to proceed with the capital projects and borrowing of the debentures, Council needs to first approve the borrowing bylaws. A reminder of the projects we're referring to today. The first bylaw is the Organics Diversion Program. The total project is $2,915,000 and $1,385,000 will be funded through a debenture. The second bylaw pertains to Lift Station 6. This is a life cycle and replacement construction project with a total cost of $1,000,000 and $900,000 is funded through a debenture. The third bylaw is the South Bow River Loop Water Main. The total project cost is $4.2 million, and $3,520,000 will be funded from a debenture. The fourth bylaw pertains to the Bow Valley Trail wastewater upgrade construction. The total project is $1.4 million, and $1.3 million is funded through a debenture. The last bylaw relates to the fire flow improvement construction. The total project cost is $600,000 and $550,000 is funded from a debenture. There is a financial impact to borrowing. This has not changed since first reading. So the interest rates which are required from Alberta Capital Finance Authority will vary. So the rates as of December 17th were 3.274% with a maximum of 7%. Again, that 7% was chosen as a maximum based on conversations with ACFA and their insight on municipal practices. So again, the debt is not actually taken upon approval of the bylaw, which is why we have the varying interest rates. The debt is taken closer to the project completion. So since first reading on January 8th, the bylaws were advertised per the MGA for 2 weeks, January 10th and 17th, in the Rocky Mountain Outlook. The bylaws were also posted on the town's website from January 8th and currently remain on the site. After the January 17th advertisement date, there was a 15-day petition period with a deadline for submissions of February 1st. So no petitions were received. The recommendation today is for council to give second and third reading to all 5 borrowing bylaws.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Reinhardis that she might not have covered in her presentation? We've met all the statutory requirements for moving these bylaws forward?
That's correct.
Great. So seeing no questions from council, thank you for your presentation. Now, we've had first reading on these bylaws in the past, and we've done our statutory requirements, so what is required of us today is to give second and third reading to these bylaws. So I'll start with the first one. Council gives second reading to Borrowing Bylaw 2019-01 Organics Diversion Program. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Council give third reading to Borrowing Bylaw 2019-01 Organics Diversion Program. All in favor? Carried unanimously. The next one will be that council gives second reading to Borrowing Bylaw 2019-02 Lift Station 6 Life Cycle Replacement Construction. Any questions on that? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Council give third reading to Borrowing Bylaw 2019-02 Lift Station 6 Life Cycle Replacement Construction. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. The next borrowing bylaw that council gives second reading to Borrowing Bylaw 2019-03 South Bow River Loop Water Main Construction. Any discussion? All in favor? Council give third reading to Borrowing Bylaw 2019-03 South Bow River Loop Water Main Construction. All in favor? Carried unanimously. That council gives second reading to Borrowing Bylaw 2019-04 Bow Valley Trail Wastewater Upgrade Construction. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. That council give third reading to Borrowing Bylaw 2019-04 Bow Valley Trail Wastewater Upgrade Construction. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. And the next one, and the final one, that council gives second reading to Borrowing Bylaw 2019-05 Bow Valley Trail Fire Flow Improvement Construction. All in favor? Carried unanimously. That council give third reading to Borrowing Bylaw 2019-05 Bow Valley Trail Fire Flow Improvement Construction. All in favor? Carried unanimously. There you go, Ms. Reinhardis. All your bylaws have been passed. So moving on to F2. Business Improvements Area Bylaw 21-2005, Amendment and Appointment of Board Members. And presenting today will be Eleanor McLett, Manager of Economic Development. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Your Worship and members of Council. I'm here to request first, second, and third reading to the Downtown Business Revitalization Amendment Bylaw 2019-14 with the name change to Downtown Business Improvement Area, as well as to ask Council to appoint members to the Downtown Business Improvement Area Board as presented. In 2015, the Municipal Government Act was updated and a change was made to Business Revitalization Zone to Business Improvement Area, and provisions were given for the BRZs to continue on using their name, but understanding that they were subject to the amended Municipal Government Act requirements. In November, the BRZ in their AGM did the name change to BIA, Business Improvement Area, and thus the updated bylaw is in front of you. We've also updated some regulations and changed some spelling mistakes, as you can see in the red version that is in front of you. And as well, under Municipal Government Act Section 51-1, there's a requirement of council to appoint the board as presented, to make a motion to appoint that board. And that was also provided to you as well, and elected on the November 15th, I think, AGM. Short but sweet presentation.
Okay. Are we, do we have the board members in our package, or was that at our?
No, they are in your packets, but I can provide them to you as well.
Okay.
So, Tori Kendall as chair, Joanne March as vice president, Christine DeSoto as secretary, James Kendall as treasurer, Richard Greaves, director, Reed Costley, director, Jeremy Elborn, director, and Byron Parlow as director. And to note is that Councillor Karen Mera is the council representation to that board, and I'm the administrative representation to that board.
Great. So when we pass that section of the, when we make that motion, we would be approving all of these people as per this graph. Okay. All right, any questions for Ms. McLeod? Seeing none, thank you for your presentation. So I believe we have two motions before us here. The first one is that council give first reading to the Downtown Business Revitalization Amendment Bylaw 2019-14, change of name to Downtown Business Improvement Area. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Then I'd like to give second reading to the Downtown Business Revitalization Amendment Bylaw 2019-14, change name to Downtown Business Improvement Area. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Thank you. And I would like to ask to give leave to go to third reading of the bylaw for Downtown Business Revitalization Amendment Bylaw 2019-14, change the name to Downtown Business Improvement Area. Those in favor? And then I will go to third reading to the Downtown Business Revitalization Amendment Bylaw 2019-14, change name to Downtown Business Area Improvement. All in favor? Motion carried unanimously, and that ends that bylaw approval. Then we will go to the request that council appoint members to the Downtown Business Improvement Area Board as presented. And I believe we only need first reading on this, right? We only need one motion, okay. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. And the next item on the agenda will be Canmore Recreation Replacement Score Clock, G1. And to make a presentation on that, we have Mr. Jim Yonker, who is the manager of Recreation. Welcome, Mr. Yonker.
Good morning. Your Worship, members of council, thank you for your time today. The score clock in the Alex Kalita Arena has served the hockey players of this community well over the past 35 years. It is now, however, difficult to obtain parts for and becoming unreliable. The score clock was actually identified for replacement in the 2019 to 2024 capital budget, but as an unbudgeted line item and in 2020. At that time, in the review of the budget time, Council asked the community to respond to this need. And a local organization, Crossway Community Thrift, stepped up to take this on. Len Buckley, from Executive Officer with the Thrift, is with us this morning, and I'd like to thank him. And Crossway Community Thrift has provided the town with a check in the amount of $7,500 and signed a sponsorship agreement, which has been reviewed and approved by Lisa DeSoto, our CAO. The agreement is conditional only upon Council's approval. Crossway Community Thrift will pay an additional $7,500 within another 12 months. So that will more than cover the cost of the clock. Crossway Community Thrift is a valued organization in the community, and this application is supported by the letters that you've seen from the Canmore Eagles and Canmore Minor Hockey Association. And since we have the press here, I'd like to make a plug that Crossway Community Thrift is providing a great example for the community, and we'd like to see other businesses step forward and help with some of these projects. And I'd like to thank Councillor Hillstad for introducing me to Len and facilitating this particular arrangement. And I'd like to acknowledge Rob Seeley this morning, who has undertaken pledge to donate $1 for every goal he scores going forward. So I can see that we will be able to pay for a new clock in quite some time. So the recommendation to Council is to approve a new 2019 capital project entitled CRC Scoreboard Replacement, Alex Kalita, in the amount of $15,000, which will be ultimately funded by private sponsorship, although we will have to bridge that gap a bit, which I assume will come from the General Capital Reserve. Thank you.
Any questions from Council for Mr. Yonker? No. I had a question for you. There is some discussion in this report about putting the thrift store logos on the Thelma Crow scoreboards as well?
Yes, they'll be on both scoreboards.
So for the sponsorship dollars that are being given by the thrift, there'll be 2 clocks that'll be replaced in one arena?
That's correct.
The
Alex Kalita will be replaced right away because it's 26 years old. The one in Thelma Crow was actually replaced in 2006. And so we may not replace it this year. It may come in another year.
But you're proposing to put logos on?
Yes. The funding they're providing more than covers the cost to replace both scoreboards.
And so they're going to have logos on all 4 clocks?
There are 2 clocks.
But there's 2 clocks in Alex Kalita and there's 2 clocks in Thelma Crow?
There's 1 clock in each rink.
Oh.
The big score clocks.
Okay, but so we're only replacing the one in, see, that's what I'm confused about. I thought there was 2 clocks. There's only 1 clock in the Alex Kalita?
No, sorry, there are 2 clocks in
Right.
Alex Kalita, yes.
Okay.
So it will cover that cost to replace those.
Right.
Yeah.
But then they're logoing the clocks in the Thelma Crow as well?
Yes, that's the consideration.
And they're not being replaced?
No.
Okay. So for the sponsorship, they're getting logos in both arenas on all the clocks?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I was, when I was reading this report, I was confused because we were talking about both arenas, but we're only talking about the clocks being replaced in one arena. Yeah. Okay. All right. So then if we go with this process, then we get the clocks replaced in 2019 as opposed to waiting till all the money's together for
That's
2020.
what we're proposing, yes.
Okay. Otherwise, we would have to wait till 2020.
Yeah.
Correct?
And given the time of year now that, originally we started down this with the hockey season still pending, it's almost up now. So, and with the work that's going to go on in Alex Kalita this summer, likely that clock won't go up until fall.
Okay. Do you think that'll help Councillor Seeley score more goals? Was that fast track his contribution to these projects?
I can tell you it'll be a lot faster with Councillor Seeley than my goal production. So.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Okay, thanks for clarifying the sponsorship and the logoing of the clocks.
Thank you.
There is a question, or the CAO? Oh, and Manager Wen? No? You pushed your buttons. We did. Okay. Well, you can't unpush them on this end because you still appear. Okay. Thank you. So, are there any other questions from Council? So I'll put the motion on the floor that Council approve a new 2019 capital project entitled CRC Scoreboard Replacement, Alex Kalita, in the amount of $15,000 to be funded by private sponsorship. The sponsor will provide $7,500 in 2019 with the balance due in 2020. The general capital reserve will be used to bridge the funding over the 2 years. Any discussion on that motion? Councillor Comfort?
Yes, I'd like to commend administration, well, first Crossway Thrift for stepping forward. When community organizations support the endeavors of the citizens in recreation and other things, Parent Link receives some support from the community and other programs. And the other place we saw this come forward was the playground up at OLS being advanced by a considerable amount by the volunteer effort put forward by the parents. Those are two that spring to mind, and it's in the fabric of our community. At this time when we're doing a cultural master plan, that volunteerism and that spirit of community is definitely part of our culture that we want to preserve and celebrate. And I wanted to say something else, and now I forgot because I'm getting really emotional. So I just want to thank Crossway Thrift. Oh, I know. I also like admin addressing the fact that I was a little concerned when this first came up because Crossway Thrift has a religious affiliation as an organization, and not that that's a bad thing, but it could set an uncomfortable precedent, and I'm very glad that you addressed that in the agenda, and that we do in fact have a policy that governs political, religious, and other organizations. So there is discretion here when a sponsor comes forward, because it could be fraught. So not in this case, though. It's something to celebrate. So that's it.
Thank you, Councillor Comfort. Councillor Seeley.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Sanford. It's great to have a community sponsor support the scoreboard replacement for the Alex Kalita Arena. I'll happily support this initiative, and I'd like to thank Mr. Buckley and Crossway Community Thrift for making this generous community contribution. I hope that other members of the community feel like stepping into a participatory role too, because there's lots of fundraising initiatives that are important to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Seeley. Councillor Mara.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Sanford. Yes, I just have exactly the same thing that Councillor Comfort and Councillor Seeley said, and I just want to reiterate thank you also, and thank you for everyone who put this together.
Thank you, Councillor Mara. Any other discussion on that motion? I too would like to say thank you to Crossway Thrift for stepping forward. It was an interesting process we went through at budget time with council, that we removed that item from the budget and gave the community the opportunity to step forward. I think that was a good conversation to have, and I think in the future as we go forward, where we see opportunities for the community to come together, it's a good incentive for people to get involved, and I really appreciate you taking the opportunity to do that. So with that, I see no other questions. I'd like to call the question on the motion. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Going to the next item on the agenda, the Community Grant Selection Committee appointment. And to make a presentation, we will have Lisa Brown, Manager of Community and Social Development. Welcome to the microphone.
Thank you. So good morning, Deputy Mayor and members of Council. Thank you for your time this morning. I have a really short presentation. I'm here this morning to request that Council appoint Ms. Michelle Vincent to the 2019 Community Grant Selection Committee. In October, Council appointed 2 public members, Ms. Sandy Nemeth and Ms. Georgia Karstensen. Sorry about that. In January 2019, Ms. Carstensen notified me in writing that she is unable to participate on the committee for 2019, and she'll be missed. She had strong organizational skills, and she was very careful, attention to detail. As I mentioned today, I would like to request Ms. Michelle Vincent join the Community Grant Selection Committee. In October of 2018, when we were looking at public appointments, I interviewed Ms. Vincent and put her name forward as a possible committee member. Upon receiving Ms. Karstensen's resignation, I reconnected with Ms. Vincent, and she's still interested and eager in joining the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from Council? Councillor Comfort?
Usually we have a resume or a copy of the application from the applicant in the agenda. Did I miss that?
No, I didn't include it. My apologies, but I'm happy to forward it to you.
No worries. If you could. I kind of remember, and it's fine, because I remember we struggled over this one because it was an either-or, presented as an either-or thing, and you wanted to maximize the number of volunteers who came forward. So I'm fine with the appointment, but I just wondered if you could forward that to me. That would be awesome.
Yep, I will, for sure.
I have a question from Ms. Cottle. Okay. All right.
Sorry, I'll stop.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from Council? Seeing none, thank you for your presentation, Ms. Brown.
Thank you.
With that, I will place the motion that Council appoint Michelle Vincent to the 2019 Community Grant Selection Committee as a public representative for a term ending at the 2019 Annual Organizational Meeting of Council. Any discussion on that motion? Well, I think I would be happy to support this motion in the sense that we've gone through the application process, and this person is a willing applicant who is taking the place of somebody stepping down. So it seems like a pretty straightforward process, and the organizational meeting is in October of this year. So at that point in time, we will have new applicants, and the committee can reconsider who they'd like to be on. So this is an interim kind of appointment, but we've already gone through the application process with this person. So anybody else like to comment on that? Seeing no other comments, I will call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. With that, I will go to item G3, appointment of Subdivision and Development Appeal Board Clerk. And I see Ms. Noel is not here, but we have Mr. Fish, Manager of Planning. Would you like to comment?
I will. Good
Great.
morning.
Good morning.
Mayor Sanford and members of council. Given that we are ahead of schedule, we have a light agenda. I will try and drag this out as long as possible.
Please don't.
This is an incredibly complex topic, so it's going to take a long time to go through it. The Municipal Government Act, you will notice, in this section here, has changed. So we now require an appointment of a clerk. The clerk must be trained, according to this section here. Ms. Jolene Noel and Sarah Jones have completed the training, and we therefore recommend that council appoint them as clerks of the Subdivision Development Appeal Board. I tried. That's all I could stretch it out for.
Wow. Well, thank you for that presentation. I'm not sure who gave Mr. Fish the pointer, but he's very proficient with it. Any Any questions for Mr. Fish about this motion or this recommendation? Seeing none, I think we can move forward. I will make the motion that council appoint Jolene Noel and Sarah Jones as clerks to the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board. Any discussion on that motion? Well, I would be happy to support that motion. Councillor Comfort and I are on the SDAB, and we've also taken the training for SDAB members, and Ms. Noel has been our SDAB clerk for several years now, and she's very proficient at it, so we're happy now that she's trained. And Ms. Jones also took the training, and so we have 2 people who are available to do that job. So I will be happy to support that motion. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. And going on to the next item, G4. The amendment of minutes of January 29th, 2019 special meeting of council, and Ms. Hyde, our municipal clerk, will give a short presentation on why we're doing this.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Sanford. At the last regular meeting of council, when you were approving the minutes of the previous meeting, which was a public hearing, there was a motion made to change one of the submissions from the list that said opposed to the list that said neutral or unstated. And that motion carried when the minutes were approved. So after that, we heard from the party in question, which was the Canadian Parks and Wilderness Association, and they requested that they have their submission moved back into the opposed column. So to accomplish that, since the minutes were already approved, we're requesting that you rescind the motion that approved those minutes and then make a new motion to approve the minutes as they are attached now to your staff report.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Hyde on that? It's pretty straightforward, but we do have to rescind the previous motion, right?
Yes,
Yes,
because we don't want that one to be effect anymore.
Right. So this is a process we have to go through.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. So with that, I will move that council rescind motion 31-2019, that council approve the minutes of January 29th, 2019 special meeting, public hearing for Peaks Landing Direct Control District Bylaw 2018-14 as presented, with one amendment. The written submission from Canadian Parks and Wilderness will be noted as neutral or unstated instead of opposed. Any comments on that motion? Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. And the second motion that I'd like to place is that council approve the minutes of the January 29th, 2019 special meeting public hearing for Peaks Landing Direct Control District Bylaw 2018-14 as presented. Any discussion on that motion? One thing I'd like to say about this is that we often get letters from the public commenting on these bylaws, and the public doesn't often state what their position is, so we have to extrapolate sometimes. So if the public was more clear about expressing their support or opposition for bylaws as they make their... Or neutrality, yes. So people can state what their position is, whether it's opposed, in favor of, or neutral. That makes our job a little bit easier. We have to go through quite a process to reverse that suggestion that we assumed from the contribution. So what we need to do is just get people to state their position when they do make those applications. So with that, I will call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? All in carried unanimously. And I believe that brings us to the agenda today. And anything else? Nope, we're good. So I will call for the meeting to be adjourned. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried? And we're done. Thank you very much.
Well done. Yes, well done.
Oh, thank you.